Achaemenid architecture includes all architectural achievements of the Achaemenid Persians, manifesting in construction of spectacular cities used for governance and inhabitation, temples made for worship and social gatherings, and mausoleums erected in honor of fallen kings. The quintessential feature of Persian architecture was its eclectic nature, with elements of Assyrian, Egyptian, Median and Asiatic Greek all incorporated, yet producing a unique Persian identity seen in the finished product. Achaemenid architecture is academically classified under Persian architecture in terms of its style and design. Achaemenid architectural heritage, beginning with the expansion of the empire around 550 BCE, was a period of artistic growth that left an extraordinary architectural legacy ranging from Cyrus the Great's solemn tomb in Pasargadae to the splendid structures of the opulent city of Persepolis. With the advent of the Second Persian Empire, the Sassanid dynasty revived Achaemenid tradition by construction of temples dedicated to fire, and monumental palaces. Perhaps the most striking extant structures to date are the ruins of Persepolis, a once opulent city established by the Achaemenid king Darius the Great for governmental and ceremonial functions, and also acting as one of the empire's four capitals. Persepolis would take 100 years to complete and would finally be ransacked and burnt by the troops of Alexander the Great in 330 BCE. Similar architectural infrastructures were also erected at Susa and Ecbatana by Darius the Great, serving similar functions as Persepolis, such as reception of foreign dignitaries and delegates, performance of imperial ceremonies and duties, and also housing the king's Mausoleum of Cyrus the Great. Despite having ruled over much of the ancient world, Cyrus the Great would design a tomb that depicts extreme simplicity and modesty when compared to those of other ancient kings and rulers. The simplicity of the structure has a powerful effect on the viewer, since aside from a few cyma moldings below the roof and a small rosette above its small entrance, there are no other stylistic distractions. Structural details. After his death, Cyrus the Great remains were interred in his capital city of Pasargadae, where today his limestone tomb still exists. The translated ancient accounts give a vivid description of the tomb both geometrically and aesthetically. The tomb's geometric shape has changed little over the years, still maintaining a large stone of quadrangular form at the base, followed by a pyramidal succession of 7 irregular smaller rectangular stones reaching a height of 18 feet, until the structure is curtailed by a rectangularly formed cubical edifice with a small opening or window on the side, where the slenderest man can barely squeeze through. The roof of the edifice, and indeed the structure, is an elongated limestone pediment. The edifice, or the small house, is a rectangular, elongated cube that lies directly on top of the pyramidal stone steps, and is 6.5 feet in width, 6.5 feet in height, and 10 feet in length. The inside of the edifice is occupied by a small chamber a few feet in width and height, and around 10 feet deep. It was inside this chamber where the bed and coffin of Cyrus the Great would have been situated. The edifice has a pediment roof possessing the same length and width dimensions as the edifice itself. Around the tomb were a series of columns. The original structure which they supported is no longer present. Arrian's direct testimony indicates that Cyrus the Great was indeed buried in the chamber inside the edifice, as he describes Alexander seeing it during his visit to Pasargadae. But it is also a possibility that the body of Cyrus the Great had been interred below the structure, and that the tomb seen on the top is in fact a cenotaph or a false tomb. There was originally a golden coffin inside the mausoleum, resting on a table with golden supports, inside of which the body of Cyrus the Great was interred. Upon his resting place, was a covering of tapestry and drapes made from the best available Babylonian materials. using fine median workmanship. Below his bed was a fine red carpet, covering the narrow rectangular base of his tomb. History translated Greek accounts describe the tomb as having been placed in the fertile Pasargadae gardens, surrounded by trees and ornamental shrubs, with a group of Achaemenian protectors stationed nearby to protect the edifice from theft or damage. The Magi were a group of on-site Zoroastrian observers, located in their separate but attached structure, possibly a caravanserai, paid and cared for by the Achaemenid state. The Magi were placed in charge of maintenance and also prevention of theft. Years later, in the ensuing chaos created by Alexander the Great's invasion of Persia and loss of a centralized authority directing and caring for the Magi, Cyrus the Great's tomb was broken into and most of its luxuries were looted. When Alexander reached the tomb, he was horrified by the manner in which the tomb was treated, and questioned the Magi and put them to court. On some accounts, Alexander's decision to put the Magi on trial was more about his attempt to undermine their influence and his show of power in his newly conquered empire, than a concern for Cyrus's tomb. Regardless, Alexander the Great ordered Aristobulus of Cassandreia to improve the tomb's condition and restore its interior. The tomb was originally ornamented with an inscription that, according to Strabo, stated, "O man, I am Cyrus the Great, who gave the Persians an empire and was the king of Asia. Grudge me not therefore this monument." The edifice has survived the test of time for some 2,500 years. After the Arab invasion into Persia and collapse of the Sassanid Empire, Arab armies wanted to destroy this historical artifact, on the basis that it was not incongruent to their Islamic tenets, but quick thinking on the part of the local Persians prevented this disaster. The Persians renamed the tomb, and presented it to the invading army as the tomb of King Solomon's mother. It is likely that the inscription was lost at this time. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last official monarch of Persia, during his 2,500-year celebration of the Persian Empire paid significant homage to the Achaemenid kings and especially Cyrus the Great. Just as Alexander the Great before him, the Shah of Iran wanted to appeal to Cyrus's legacy to legitimize his own rule by extension. Shah of Iran, however, was generally interested in protection of imperial historical artifacts. After the Iranian Revolution, the tomb of Cyrus the Great survived the initial chaos and vandalism propagated by the Islamic revolutionary hardliners who equated Persian imperial historical artifacts with the late Shah of Iran. There are allegations of the tomb being in danger of damage from the construction of the Savand Dam on River Polver and water-related damage, but there is no official acknowledgement of this claim. United Nations recognizes the tomb of Cyrus the Great and Pasargadae as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Shah of Iran's 2,500 years celebrations. An animated picture of the Mausoleum, tomb of Cyrus under repair.